The camcorder world in 2025 is looking bleak. These are the two camcorders that are about $1,000, a little under $1,000 in that price range. This is the latest Sony 43A, Panasonic VX3, which this actually recently came out a few months ago as of the recording of this video. And this is supposed to be the upgrade to the VX1, which I have also reviewed on this channel. In this video, I'm going to compare these two cameras because if you're looking for something like this on the market, these are the ones that are on the shelves right now and are the latest technology from these two brands. But if you don't want to watch the rest of this video, I'll just tell you right now that the Sony AX43A is better than the VX3 if you're looking between these two. There's really only 4 features of the VX3 that make it better than the 43A. If these 4 features mean anything to you, if these are deal breakers, then maybe consider the VX3. Otherwise, in all other categories, the 43A is better. The first one is the lens. The zoom range is better. So it goes from a 25mm wide angle to a 600mm telephoto. On the 43A, it starts at a 26.5 wide angle and about a 534 telephoto. So that's a 20 times zoom, optical zoom, versus a 24 optical zoom. So if you want wider and longer, the VX3. But it's not that much wider and not that much longer. It's just, if you happen to want more range, you get it here. The second feature that makes the VX3 better than the 43A, full manual control over the iris, the shutter speed, and the ISO. Here you can change all of your exposure, your manual exposure, one at a time, all on the touchscreen. Nothing's, there's no buttons for it. All on the touchscreen. It's very clunky to do, but you're able to do it on the VX3. And as far as I know, I've been testing, you're not able to lock all of your exposure triangle at the same time and see all your values. With the VX3, you can. It's not great, but you can at least do that. The third feature that makes the VX3 slightly better than the 43, the iris on the VX3. It can go as wide as a 1.8, and then it can stop down to an f16. So let me just go to the iris here to show you. It says open, but that's 1.8. It goes to f16. The Sony can open as wide as f2, and then it can only stop down to f11. Going to f16 matters because both of these cameras do not have internal ND filters. There were previous camcorders that had ND filters, but these don't. So the way that this, on a very bright day, exposes for really bright sunlight is that it increases the shutter speed. Just like a GoPro, those action cameras, just like your phone, if you don't have an ND filter, it just increases the shutter speed in order to get proper exposure. When you have an f16 iris, the iris will stop down before the shutter speed will. If you want to maintain a cinematic motion blur, this camera is a little better because it stops down to f16, whereas after this goes to f11, it ramps up the shutter speed. And the fourth feature to me that makes the VX3 better than the 43A is that the VX3 has a USB-C that both powers the camera and charges the battery. So the VX3, it ships with this right here. This is just a normal USB-C to USB-A power adapter. You can actually use other brands. You don't have to use what comes in the box. The Sony, on the other hand, has this their proprietary DC-in. They've had something similar to this in all of their camcorders. So if you forget this power charger and you don't have a battery charger and then you're just stuck, that's it, you're out of luck. You can't power your camera. So that's one advantage. It's a small advantage, but it has it with the Panasonic VX3 here. USB-C, more ubiquitous. Besides those 4 features, the Sony AX43A is better on all accounts. If you have to get a Panasonic, don't even get the VX3, get the VX1 or the other Panasonic camcorders that are older. I'm not going to show a lot of test footage of the VX3 because I have previous videos where I reviewed the VX1 and then the WVX is this the same like big brother of the VX1. I'm going to link that below so you can just look at that footage because I cannot tell the difference in picture quality from the VX1 to the VX3. To me, nothing improved as far as the image quality goes. When it comes to the camera itself, it feels exactly the same as the VX1. There is an improvement of the LCD screen. It's sharper, it's better, brighter, and all that stuff. But compared to the 43A, no, it's not that, no. The 43A is better. And what's also infuriating about the VX3 is that it's not that much of an upgrade over the VX1, and yet it's still on this upper tier $1,000 price range. I think this is about $900. Retail for, I think, around $950, a little under $1,000. So this is only a $50 difference in the market right now, but it's a huge gap. I think it's a huge gap in quality. When you get the VX3 here, you get this really small battery, and this battery, even though it's tiny, it does power the camera for about an hour and 40 minutes, depending on what your codec is. And then the battery that ships with the 43A here, this one lasts about 2 hours and 30 minutes. You get a bigger and better battery than the what you get stock in the VX3. When it comes to image stabilization, there is a 5-axis image stabilization in here, and it's fine. It's okay, but the image stabilization on the 43A, that's the hat trick. You can see here, I did a review of the 53, same thing. It's a gimbal inside. The lens is a gimbaled lens inside of the body, and that's what also makes the entire camera bigger. I don't know if you've noticed this entire time, but the Sony is heavier, girthier, and bigger because it's having a gimbal inside of the body here. So if you want, I guess, a smaller pocketable camcorder, the VX3 is better in that regard.
Here we go, testing the image stabilization.
Up top here on the VX3, you have a cold shoe. It's not electronic, it's just a regular metal cold shoe. And then on this side, you have your mic input. Here you have that power, and then that's your headphone. Everything's pretty much a touch screen. But your SD card, your power button, your HDMI, little micro HDMI. If you want more detail of the VX3, just watch my review of the VX1. It's the same quality, same camera. And I'm probably not going to hold on to the VX3 because it's just not an impressive camera for the price. If this came down, if this was more like under $700, that's when I'll consider this. But at close to $1,000, that's a ripoff. The difference between the 43 and the 43A, which has been discontinued, if you try to look for brand new Sony camcorders, all of their older lines, I believe, have been discontinued. So the 43A is the only one left. The other ones you have to find used or at another kind of reseller. From what I understand, the biggest upgrade is that the LCD screen here has improved, so it's clearer. And there might have been something added to it that internally. But when I'm looking at this, and I'm looking back at the AX53 that I reviewed, I don't see that much of a difference. Some of the features that make this one better than the Panasonic is that even though you don't have manual control over exposure, you can still lock your exposure. You don't know the values. And then there was the gimbal. You have multiple frame rates. Both of these cameras can do all the way up to 30p 4K. It cannot do 60p in 4K. I think you could do 60, but you have to go to 1080. This one has multiple bit rates. So you can choose between a 60 megabit and a 100 megabit codec. Whereas the VX3, it doesn't even give you the option. And I believe when I was just looking at the values for this on my computer, is around 60 megabits. For the 4K footage, there's your microphone jack, your multi-mount. So this multi-mount, you would think that it could charge the camera. It cannot charge the camera. That's used for multiple functions. And if you go on their website, Sony will tell you it can be used for different things. Right here is where your headphone jack is. You have your SD card, a micro HDMI. When you flip open the top here, this is their proprietary hot shoe. However, you can't use all of their accessories that you can with the other cameras. I have this shotgun mic. I forget the model number of this one. This doesn't work on the 43A. Here's the DJI with the Sony adapter. This does not work on the 43A. In case you don't believe me, there, see? This accessory is not supported. There, you believe me? So I'm looking at the box here on the Sony, and it appears this is the only accessory, those two right here, that you can use that MI shoe. You have to get this specific microphone and this specific, I guess that's a Bluetooth wireless. Those seem to be the only ones, according to this box, that are compatible with the 43A. So that kind of sucks, right? If you buy into their MI shoe accessories and you have a camera that just doesn't work with them, that's a bummer. Okay, now I'm going to conduct a very scientific test here. Right now I have right above me an LED light. It's set to 5400 Kelvin and it's pretty properly exposed. So this is a Samsung S25 Ultra you're seeing right now. I'm going to press record on both of them. I have this, they're both on 24p 4K, but I have it on full auto. So I'm going to hit record. It's auto white balance, auto exposure. I don't know what the shutter speed is, the ISO. The cameras are doing everything for it. I do have them zoomed out completely all the way. So for the Sony here, it's an f2. For the Panasonic, it's a 1.8. And what I'll do is I'll just zoom in on the cameras to the card, and then it's just gonna stop down automatically as I zoom in. I'll just go into whatever part of the frame. Color chart there. Yeah, so I just zoomed in. They're at different points of color, but you can just see how if the exposure changes. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to zoom out. Still recording. And I am going to turn off the light I have up here, and then we'll see what it looks like as the cameras adjust to low light. Now this isn't super low light, but it's pretty dark in here. And this is what it looks like. I guess you can't tell unless there's some motion blur. So I don't know what I have here for. I'll just wave my arms past so you can see the motion blur of going across. So you can see that they both kind of do okay in low light for as far as this low light goes.